What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Checkered. I'm here with my buddy George. George runs pretty much everything.
Yep, everything.
So we've got super late models. I'm looking at a truck over there. Looking at a sportsman car here. Looking at another super up top there. This is George Gorham Jr. Mr. Showtime, Mr. Excitement. I mean, you put on a show no matter what you are running. Fans love you. Fans hate you. I mean, you can tell when George either is going for the lead or something happens. I mean, you get the cheers, you get the boos. It's kind of a mixture. This is going to be exciting, man. This is one that I've been looking forward personally myself for quite a while. Me and you go way back from Kids Club days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you built my motor for my Kids Club car. Met you out there. The first time I met you, I don't know if you remember this or not, the first time I met you was at the ballpark.
Oh, yeah.
When you had your truck
Yep.
out there. So that was the first time that I met you.
You had your car there.
I had my car
Yep,
there.
your car there.
Yep, and you actually helped fix my distributor that
Yep.
day because something was broke and you fixed it. So, what's going on, man?
Man, not much. You know, you see it just like you seen when you came here. There's a lot of work, a lot of cars.
Race cars everywhere.
Yeah, we just got a shop full of cars. We got kid trying to keep in running. We got a big race this weekend. Got 2 supers got to get done. Got a hauler I'm working on. Just race cars everywhere. You know, kids, family, you know, doing all that stuff. Melissa's been gone with her dad and with the cancer stuff, so I've been taking care of kids. Been a single dad for a couple days, living that life, and you know, just taking care of kids, make sure the household stays like it should be while she's gone, and trying to keep the racing going.
Just for everyone, picture this. I just want to picture George washing dishes.
Yeah.
Washing dishes, cooking supper. You know, put the apron on, the entire thing.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of things that I kind of want to touch base on. And so, our history kind of goes back to the Kids Club days. I even remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, I went to DeSoto one night, right?
Yeah, you had the Gorham on you.
I
was going to bring that up.
I had my face painted orange because I was with a group of people that were not George
fans.
that were not George fans, right?
Was it there, wasn't it?
It was. They were there, yeah. And they were because I rode with them.
Yeah.
We didn't know you were racing, and we're not gonna say any names because they're probably watching this. But they said you cannot cheer for George if you're sitting with us. I'm like, okay. Well, then they were doing face painting in the front, so I snuck off, painted my face, put tins everywhere. We're actually gonna post that picture right now. Okay, so that was like 8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. That's before Cletus McFarland, you know, bought the Freedom Factory or whatever it is now. That's
almost positive that race we sat on the pole.
Really?
Pretty sure we did. Yep.
I don't remember much about it. I just remember my face was painted and I was having a good time. Mm-hmm. So we have a history. That's why I feel comfortable doing this interview. I felt comfortable doing it with Dylan. We're going to eventually try to venture out to guys I know nothing about and talk to them, kind of pick their brains. But, I mean, I did get some questions in for you on, you know, who is George behind the helmet. So before we get in all that, tell me how you got started in all this. Like, what... we all have a starting point. So what was George's starting point?
Well, I tell you, back in '89, I'm actually from Philadelphia. We moved here. My dad and mom, we moved here. Our neighbor actually was driving 4-cylinder scrambler cars, is what they were called, bombers back then in '89, '90. And my dad kept trying to get me to go to the racetrack, and I ended up going one night to watch him race, and next thing I know, the night just so happens when I got there, they were in a kids club. Well, guess what? From that point forward, it was like, I wanted this guy to build me a car. His name's Scott Bennett, and I wanted him and on him when I wanted to talk to him about building me a car. And my dad's like, talk to him, just talk to him. I'm like, man, he's like, what do you want to date my daughter? I said, no, sir, that's not what I want to do. I want you to build me a race car. I said, so that's what I want. But that's where it started, and I'm telling you, from that day forward. I've been at Arbondale for a long time, and I go there quite a bit. It got to the point where it's weekends where we weren't racing and we didn't have a way to track. Me and my brothers would ride our bikes from Skyview there in Lakeland all the way to Arbondale to watch the race on our bikes. And then on the way back home, somebody usually pick us up, throw our bikes in the bed of the truck, and then we get home. So
dude, that's I did not know that.
Yep.
So the kids club even got you started,
Yep.
and there's a lot of drivers that was a foundation that was fundamentally, that's what got them started.
Yep.
Was the kids club series.
Yeah, when I raced kids club, we had junior, seniors, and novice, and I'm telling you, we had, man, I would have to say 50 cars in our
awesome.
kids club when we were there. We had to wash cars for the kids club section. Mr. Rogan ran it. It was stellar. I mean, he made us work on the cars. They taught us stuff. They taught us the flags. They taught us how to pass. We actually had to work on cars to be able to go on the track. They would actually come and watch you work on the cars. If they didn't like they wanted to make sure you knew what you were doing on the cars before they let you on the racetrack, and that's how I started.
Yeah. So when I was in kids club, we kind of had the same thing, right? And for those who don't know what kids club is, because we're throwing that term around a lot, it was called Racing for Kids Club Series.
Yep.
And pretty much what it was for when I was running, it may not have been the same for you. Bone stock 4-cylinder car.
Yep. Street tires.
So y'all ran street tires. We ran rock hard trailer tires.
Yep.
And I mean, you had 2 seats
Yep.
in the car, right?
Yeah, somebody yelling at you the whole time.
Somebody was yelling at you, and it was 8 to 16.
Yep.
You had the 3 different divisions.
Yep.
Novice, you had to have the co-rider. Juniors, you had to have the co-rider.
Yep. And
Senior, you could kick them out, and you were racing by yourself, strictly with just kids. Now we're talking 8, 9, 10 years old, running full-size stock cars.
Yeah.
Because that's what I started in. My first car was a Dodge Charger, an 86 Dodge Charger.
Yep.
So Miss Trina McLean was running it when I'd come in.
yeah.
So, and I guess I just seen this past Saturday, Daniel was running the pure stock.
Yep.
So
my first car was a Chevy Citation. It was a 4-door Citation, orange and blue.
okay,
I just remember this. So my very first time to the track was on a Sunday, and I got so excited to be at the track. I mean, for whatever reason, I was hooked on this from day one. I'd go to back the car off the trailer. I'm so excited to hop in there, and my brother parked my mom's brand new car right behind the trailer when I was unloading the car, and I rode off the trailer and ran right to the side of my mom's car.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that day wasn't as planned, but I'm telling you, from that day forward, I look forward to going to the track every single weekend, and it's kind of my life. I mean, still today. I mean, I eat, breathe, and sleep racing.
So because even I remember after you were running the pro trucks and stuff, you still helped the kids club series.
Oh, yeah. I rode with a couple people. I rode with some kids.
You was co-riders.
Yep.
Like I said, you built my motor,
Yep.
and we ended up getting your number from another one of the drivers because we kept blowing motors up. They're like, have George build the motor.
Yep.
George is the best motor builder. And so we did that, but you were very hands-on with that class until it finally kind of went away.
Yep.
For reasons, we'll leave that alone. So you're in Kids Club Series,
Yep.
right? And then you move up from your Chevy Citation. What's next?
I actually raced that in this 4-cylinder bomber class for about 6 races, and then obviously the Chargers back then, the Daytonas were fast. So then that's when I Reggie Ware was selling out all his equipment, so we went and bought all his race cars. That's where we ended up with the Dodge Charger stuff. And then Reggie Ware was working on them. Larry Chumney drove one of them. Bill drove one of them. We had 3 or 4 cars. Randy King drove a couple of my cars. I think the 4th race I ended up passing Randy King for the win, and that just was like a hook, line, and sinker right then and there.
So now we go from Kids Club, Scrambler cars, right?
Yep.
And then when do you feel like, okay, this is something that I want to do, and I want to move up to the bigger cars, the big V8s? Because at this point you're still running just 4-cylinders,
Yep.
front wheel drives. Well, you go from front wheel drive 4-cylinder to rear wheel drive V8. It's a totally different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
You don't use anything
Nothing
from front wheel drive except gas and brake.
Yep.
There's nothing. They're separate worlds.
Yes, sir.
So how did it go into that part?
Well, Mike Pitts was building all these cars. He's building. They used to be number 4, and used to have sale after them. He's building them street. There were street stocks back then. He was building them like crazy. And Chris Naramore had a bunch of them, and I had 2 jet skis. This ain't cool, but it is. So I had 2 jet skis my mom and dad owned, and I talked to Chris about buying the car that he had as a metric Monte Carlo, and I said, man, I want that car bad. I said, man, I don't have that kind of money to throw out and buy a car, and I was like, I got 2 jet skis at home, and lo and behold, he wanted to trade.
Now, did they know that was happening?
No, that's what I was getting at. So mom and dad come home and the jet skis were gone. They was like, where's the jet skis? I was like, I got rid of them for this race car. They're like, oh, hold on, you didn't even ask? I was like, no, I just wanted this race car and y'all didn't ride the jet skis. I was the only one who took care of them, so I got rid of them.
Okay.
So that's where that.
So now we know if it wasn't for mom and dad having the jet skis, you still might be in a scrambler car right now. I like it. Good. Okay.
So
we're on something here.
So that's where that went to, and then obviously, that cars were fast. Chris always had fast cars, and Mike Pitts built good cars, and we won a couple races, and I wanted to start venturing out. So DeSoto Speedway raced them. So I just didn't know no better. Me, myself, and my truck, we went to DeSoto, started racing, and next thing you know, we're going to different tracks. All on our own.
So a perfect point, right? So we see you now, right? You've got the Supers, you've got the truck and the sportsman cars. I mean, when y'all pull up, y'all pull up,
yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it hasn't always been like that.
No, absolutely not.
It was open trailer, pickup. You just said y'all went to the racetrack on bicycles.
Yeah, I remember,
right?
man, I can tell you, I remember going to DeSoto Speedway on an 85 Ford F-150, and it took me 3 quarts of oil to get there and 3 quarts of oil to get home. And open trailer. I'm telling you, it was smoke every time we stopped at a red light. I'd get out, gas station, pour a couple quarts of oil, and just keep digging. I wanted to race.
Yeah.
I don't care what it took. I was going.
So
I got another funny thing to that.
Okay,
too.
go ahead.
So when you get the truck race, we'll talk about that.
Okay. So that's kind of, like I said, we talked about when we were at the ballpark doing like a kids thing for baseball, whatever it was.
Yeah, my kids were playing baseball.
That's when I first met George Gorham, right? Had this beautiful black and orange, number 10, like you see, and it's still orange and black. And I remember, I see him a lot now, but back then, the one thing that stuck out to me was the grill of this truck, right? Because it had the Chevy emblems inside of the grill on the front. I'd never seen something like that. I'm like, that's freaking sweet. Like, that is awesome. And I don't know if you remember this, but somebody was like, fire it up, let's hear it.
Yeah.
There was no motor in it.
No.
There was no motor in it.
No, it wasn't done yet.
Yeah, so we're just like, no, there's nothing in it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But, so then you're in a truck, right?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
So, we went truck racing. Still a borrowed trailer, a borrowed truck. Back then the truck series would go to Georgia to race. We'd go to Lake City to race. We'd go to Hialeah to race. I had no truck, no trailer. I had a race car.
Now, real quick, what year is this? Because you just mentioned Hialeah. Hialeah's been gone for a minute.
I would say.
I'm not trying to tell how old you are, but
I'd say 2000, 2009, 2001, 2002.
Okay.
So I wanted to race. My uncle owned a trailer, and I had to ask him to beg him to borrow it every weekend. Bartow Ford back then was renting trucks, so I'd go to Bartow Ford and rent me a truck for the weekend, haul my trailer to the track to go race. We would just do what we had to do to get to the racetrack. One time we was going to Hialeah Speedway, so I was mentioned to you earlier. I took my truck over to AMF. He just got done setting it up, and we're going down to 27 there, long stretch, no gas. Look over, the gas lights on. We ran out of gas on the side of the road. I'm like, man, what are we gonna do? We got we're like ways away from gas stations, and I remembered, hey, he just scaled my truck. It's full tank of gas, so we back there siphoning gas out of the race truck to put in a truck to get to the racetrack.
I love it.
And,
that's awesome.
So that's where it started, and then I won some races. I won a bunch of races. There's points in time where we went to the racetrack. We would pitch tents to sleep in the parking lot because I really didn't have finances to do what we were doing, but I wanted to be there.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I want to get to. Because like I said earlier, people think of, George Gorham. He's got, 2 supers, like the truck, the sportsman cars, right? This was not handed to you.
Absolutely not.
By any means,
Absolutely.
right? And I kind of get that feeling that people think that you're Silver Spoon kid, and that's why George has the best stuff. But theoretically, it's just because you worked your butt off to have what you got now.
Yep.
And an interview pops in my head when that happens was the interview between you and Bubba Pollack.
Yeah. Yep.
And you said something along the lines of, I work 7 days a week. I don't just show up to the racetrack and my stuff's ready.
Yep.
I have to work on it during the week.
Exactly.
And that's awesome. I think if some of the people haters are going to hate no matter what, right? They're going to find a reason to dislike you. If it's the hat on your head, the way you wear it, the old George Gorham.
Yeah.
I remember that.
The mustache.
Yeah, the mustache. I think people are just they're going to try to hate on whatever they can, right? Yeah. But if they were to ever get past that and realize, you're just a normal dude, right? You go to work and you have a cool hobby, and this is what people like, all right? And that's what makes you so personable. If you hear, I've heard it all, George is stuck up, da-da-da. Yeah. You're just a regular dude.
There's a lot of things, this is kind of funny. When I first met my wife, I was 16, 17 years old, running around Lakeland Speedway. They were parked next to me with Mario Goslin and them racing, and I tried to talk to her back then, and she's a little, up there in that high class stuff. We're in a truck racing, and she didn't give me the time of day. So years later, after that, I met her at Arbondale Speedway, and I tried to get my buddy Nick to talk to her, and he told her I had no chance. So I just let it go at that. She says my attitude was terrible. I was stuck up, not at all. I wouldn't, however it went. But then I fixed her car at the dealership one day, and then her dad made her thank me for it. And then from that day forward, we never quit talking. So there's a lot of people that can't get past that, is what I'm saying. If they got to know me on the other side of it, there's one thing, man. Aaron Holmes, I talked to him. We're good friends. He'll even tell you, man, I'm a butthead on Saturdays, but I don't go to the racetrack to hang out. I go to win, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's all I want to go do. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I have to change motors. I don't care if I have to, rebuild a car. I'm going to the racetrack to give it 150%, and that's what I do.
So the video should be out by now when they see this. You just raced Saturday, and we put a camera on top of your car for a 50-lap pure stock race. Yep. And you led green to, it was like 15 to go.
Yeah,
and
42,
then,
8 to go.
And, 8 to go.
8 to go. And
the motor expired, right? And there was a look on your face that when you got out of the car, like, it wasn't a look of like, well, now what?
Yeah.
It was, I just drove my butt off up to this point, and the motor expired.
Yeah. Prior to that, which, like you're saying, like you said, I worked my butt off. Mm-hmm. Hours. We're talking literally hours before this race. I had the transmission out of the car. I had the front suspension out of the car. The steering. We went through this whole car because it wasn't even acting right in practice.
Yep.
Jason Stiefel came over and helped me, and we just tore the car all apart to try to even get to where it was even competitive. And then we had some help from a couple other guys, and it led up to where we were leading the race with. It's made it worth all the work that we just did. And then when the motor expired, it just devastated.
Because when I first got to the track, and because y'all were parked right next to the '94 open wheel that we were filming, Melissa, me and her was talking, and she goes, George just said the car doesn't feel right, but he just set it on the pole. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah. It looked terrible. It was so bad. So then you got the late models, right? And you won a lot of races.
Yeah. Now let's go back a little bit, because it wasn't a win. It was a struggle. When I got with Melissa, we started dating, and it was to the point in this class where I was just ready to give up. I just couldn't win a race. I couldn't run good. And I didn't know if it was because I didn't have the money to put tires on the car. I didn't have the money to buy a $5,000 set of shocks. And we struggled for the first 3 or 4 years running super late models. And we couldn't financially do it. I mean, we could run once every 2 or 3 months if we were lucky. And that's not what it takes to win in these cars. You have to be racing. And I met Ricky Kinnett, and then he was a big step. I mean, when I got with him, we started winning races. Next thing you know, I mean, before we even go to that, we went to Showtime by lap 10. We were getting, the first couple times we worked together, we got lapped. We go to 417 by lap 28, we were getting lapped. So I pull in. Of course, he's a crew chief, so he wants to be paid for the weekend. And we looked at each other and it's like, look, we suck so bad, I think I owe you money. So it's like, I mean, we were terrible. I mean, I told Melissa right then and there, I said, we're never, ever going back to them tracks ever again just because I don't want to look that bad, you know. Yeah. But she's like, nope, we're going back. You're going back. We're going to figure it out. And she's the biggest pusher of me. I mean, I just, next thing you know, next year we won a championship at Showtime. Next year we won a championship at 417. We won all but 2 races at Showtime. We won all but 2 or 3 at 417. And then this is a good pop question for everybody. The last 5 years, I've won 6 championships.
That is awesome, y'all. I mean, that's not. I won 6 championships. No. That is.
We won a lot of races.
We won a lot of races because we work our butts off, and they did not just hand us these championships. No, absolutely. They were. I mean, because you're running against some of the best. Yeah. Right.
So, excuse me. Showtime Speedway, we're leading. We had a big points lead. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be good. We just need to finish. We got to finish the last race. Well, we go in there into the last race, and Robert Yoho, because us all into the office, it says, tonight is championship night. All the points are at 0. So he reset the whole season. So whoever finished in front of whoever, me, Becca, there was a couple other, whoever finished in front of who won the championship that night. So it wasn't I'll go right around, take the green, you win a championship. Yeah. He reset all the points, and here we are struggling now because we thought we had it locked up.
Love him or hate him.
Yeah. He put a show on.
That's why that racetrack is called Showtime Speedway.
I like Robert, and I like the way he does stuff because he tells you to your face. He don't hide behind corners. He's going to tell you like it is, whether you like it or not.
So, out of the tracks you've ran, right, Auburndale, Auburndale's home, right? No matter what anybody says,
no, it's home.
It's home. Right?
I've been racing there since I've been 8 years old, and I've got a million laps around that place.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And I still go practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. So that tells you that I just don't show up. I mean, I still try stuff in my cars. I still go practice with my kid. I'm there with Rex and them in their cars trying to help. I'm there. I'm trying to learn every chance I get.
So, what is George's future, right? So, I mean, you've heard the Cup guys say eventually you kind of age out of being behind the wheel, right? You just at some point you're not just your reflexes aren't going to be there. Like, when do you plan on stepping out of the seat?
Man, it's hard to tell because my drive's still there. I mean, okay. I'm still like I was. I mean, I work every day. I come here and work every night, and my drive's still there. I don't see it no time soon, honestly. I want to get my kid racing. My other son's Macon's about to start racing. I want to practice with them as much as I can, but I'm still not ready to.
I mean, because when I first got here, you have a chassis sitting over there, and I said, "What's this?" You're like, "I'm going truck racing with my kid, right?" And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, the biggest goal is I want to run a couple races, maybe 1 or 2, but a charity race. I want to run a charity race with him. The other thing is it's not beneficial for my kids never raced, and I threw him right into a truck. And I can't get in the truck because he's so small. I can't find somebody to get in the truck to give me the feedback that we need. We put Kristen Clements in it. She gave me somewhat what I need, but I've lost the feel of a truck because I haven't raced him in so long. So I can't fix the truck because he's so new. So I have to build one to be able to share information with him.
Yeah,
so I can get him up to where he needs to be.
I think what a lot of people who with not a racing background they don't understand is, the Super doesn't race like the truck.
No, absolutely not.
The truck doesn't race like the Sportsman car, right? The Sportsman doesn't run like a V8 Bomber, so on and so forth. Just because they're all big motors, they're handling completely different.
Oh, yeah. You're all different tires, different compounds, different, spring shock package.
And all of that changes the setup and changes the way you have to go into the corner and back off and everything.
They all way different.
Yep.
You know, it's just a lot of combinations.
Because this past 2 weekends ago, I drove a mini cup car for the first time.
Oh yeah, I drove.
And
there.
oh my goodness, I had no idea what I was doing. I've been racing a long time. I had no idea how to drive it. And they're like, you know, what are you doing? I'm like, this is different beyond all means.
Yep.
Right? Like, you cannot drive this thing like you would anything else. Nope. It's crazy. But saying that, you have to have the feedback for all these different cars.
And I'm trying to teach him, and he's catching on, but we're missing that little bit, and I just need to be able to help him. So if I get my truck done, I can basically put him in my truck, let him feel how it's supposed to be, and I can help him with his truck, and we just go, you know, share notes back and forth.
So this weekend coming up, it's a coin toss right now between, it's either going to be 100 laps or twin 50s. You're taking, the plan right now is to take both supers,
yep.
Right? Financially, right? Because I don't know if a lot of people know this, like, to look into the backside of it, because, you know, you pay, as a fan, right, they'll pay $12 to $15 to go sit in the grandstands, right? And then they'll pay another $5, $20, you know, depending on for food and stuff, right? And they'll be like, oh man, that's crazy, right? Give me an insight of how much you already know off the top of your head, how much you're going to spend taking both of these cars to the racetrack this weekend.
I'll spend $2,500 easily. 2 sets of tires, 40 gallons of gas, entry fee, or, you know, pick gate fee, generator gas, I pay a couple people's way in. That's not paying no help though. I mean, my guys 100% work for nothing. They come here and work every night. They get no money. I have a couple guys that come here, you know, religiously every single night and work, and that's not paying a crew chief. That's not paying, you know, nobody's, you know, I have a few people that pay their own way in. That's just to get the cars at the track, the tires and the gas, and then paying the driver's way in, my wife, my kids, and we're about $2,500 for the weekend.
And I mean, and that's
one set of tires for both cars.
Yeah, one set per car. And that's if, you know, you don't cut one down in practice, or, you know, something happened in qualifying. Yep. I mean, that's just to roll into the gate.
Just to roll in the gate.
That's not even dropping the doors yet and backing the cars out. Because, I mean, these things, so when you look at short track asphalt racing, right, these cars right here are top of the line.
Yeah.
Right? They are top of the line. So tell me about these cars.
These are, both of them are Seneca Performance chassis. You know, they were built by Mike Garvey. That's who we get a lot of our feedback. We share a lot of information. Me, Mike Atwell, Chris Davison. You know, Charlie Brown has a car. There's a couple other guys that has cars that we share information with. They're Seneca cars. One has a Hamner. This one has a Hamner motor in it. My car has a progressive motor in it. They both have Earnhardt Technology transmissions. And it's just the top of the line cars. I mean, this car right here that we're actually looking at, I bought this car used from Maine. I left here on a Thursday, went all the way up there and got it on an open trailer. I bought it, no motor, no drivetrain, no seat, no shocks, and ended up building this car, putting it all together, just had a body and a chassis. The other car we got turnkey from Seneca.
Okay. So, you can answer this, you don't have to. Someone who's not into supers, right? Say I'm looking to get into one of these. Mm-hmm. To have one of these things race ready, loaded up, take it to the racetrack, what's it going to cost me to buy one race ready?
You could buy used ones now for between $40,000 and $60,000. This car, we got lucky. I bought this car for $12,000, believe it or not. And it's actually 2 cars newer than the chassis that I got bought brand new from Seneca. This car we bought from Maine, and we bought a motor, a used motor. We bought a used transmission. It had a seat, and I think we got around 35 in this car, believe it or not. That car right there is me and my wife built that car brand new, and we probably have a bid of $95,000 in that car.
Now we hear you talk a lot about your wife. She's back there. She's on the camera. But I know a lot of people, right? Because just growing up around the racetrack, I've known a lot of people, heard a lot of stories, right? And she gets kind of the same reputation as you do of, don't talk to him. Yeah. One guy the other night said, don't talk to George's wife, she'll punch you in the head. And I'm like, she's not going to punch me in the head, she knows me. Yeah. She might punch you in the head if you say something slick, but she's very cut and dry, right? And that's one of the things that, for me, knowing y'all, is there's no BS there, right? It's call it as she sees it. I've seen her many a times up there if there's a bad call, because she's been around this just as long as as you have, if not a little bit longer. So with that, right? So you're running trucks, starting kids club, went to the pure stocks, trucks. You're in supers. Well, then last year you find yourself in a Exfinity car at Martinsville.
Yep.
How? What happened?
I tell you, man, it's just all the work, all the hard work. And not only
and you didn't do bad neither.
No,
you did what, like 13th?
No, we finished 16th overall, but we finished 7th the first stage, 9th the second stage, and 16th overall.
And that's awesome because I'm a avid DraftKings guy, right? Mm-hmm. Every race I'm plugging stuff in on DraftKings, and I'm scrolling through looking at the Xfinity race, and I'm like, G Gorham. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way right now this is happening. I do it, and I'm like, oh my God, there's George on my DraftKings. And I'm like, my money's going on George, and you actually won me money that night. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what carded that was I'm not gonna lie, no practice, never sat in a car, didn't even know how to start the car when we got there. All the switches on the dash, air conditioning, that's when COVID hit. The worst part about it is always my wife couldn't be a part of it. She had to sit up there and stand with my kids to watch, which was the worst part of it all. But as far as no practice and never, I sat in a car just to obviously make sure the seatbelts work, but not starting a car, not even knowing where the gears are, not knowing where to shift. It was an all learning curve. It just was all thrown in my lap, and we started 36th. Mario had an open seat that weekend, and I told him I wanted to do it. And he told me what it was going to take to do it, and we ended up coming up with what all it needed to make it happen.
So, knowing that and getting your experience out there, and kind of proving that, if my stuff is good, right, and like we're in good equipment, we can battle. Now, granted, Martinsville, it's one of those coin tosses where there's a lot of roughness that goes on at Martinsville, right? They'd rather just kind of move you out of the way. But that kind of falls back into your short track background, right? Your Arbondales, your Showtimes. So that being said, is there any future plans on possibly getting back in, or was that like a one-time deal?
No. We definitely that's obviously the ultimate goal is to do that full time. It's just a lot of money. It's just a lot of money.
When we talked to Dylan Martin, he said, we got the call, but it was a call to write the check. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And but they ran the ARCA stuff. Yep. So I can't even imagine what that check is for Exfinity. So another question somebody had for us is driver development. Would you ever be interested in something like that, or is that down the road? Is that you've tried it before, didn't work?
No. Absolutely, I'm full boat right now. I'll put somebody in the car in a heartbeat. Like I said, I got sportsman cars that's available. I got supers. I got another one coming. That's just going to be the next step. Get people in these cars that I can afford to do what I want to do. Yep. If I can get somebody to rent these cars, Ross has got a car for the year. Probably all next year by the way things are going with him. He's done very, very well stepping up into this car, never racing nothing like this. And the guy's just proven point. This guy ain't raced a whole lot, and he's got 4 top 5s already with his car, and he's raced mega trucks. He's raced a couple street stock races, a couple pure stock races, and we threw him right in this car. I think the first night he finished 5th.
That's awesome.
It's definitely a rental program. If somebody wants to do it, I'm definitely open for the opportunities for sure.
So now we don't have to get into pricing. They can message y'all direct on that, and they can find y'all, on Facebook, and we'll put the link and everything in. So, out of all the racetracks you've been to, out of all the races that you've ran, won, lost, what would be your favorite race?
Man, I tell you.
If you have one.
for me to race, or what was my favorite race?
What was your, either or, right?
The best race, the track that I'd love to go to is honestly Pensacola.
Really?
It's fast, it's fun. We went there the first time with the super stocks, which are our sportsman cars.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, matter of fact, the sportsman that's in the shop here is what won the race. Our first time ever there. We won a snowball derby and a super stock race. When I left that place, man, I felt like, I was signing autographs from police officers to firefighters to kids to, I was signing autographs after a pure stock race,
Yeah.
Who would think that?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the pits and there's lines of people wanting autographs, and I was blown away, honestly blown away.
So, have you ever ran the big snowball with a super?
I can't. To do it right, it'll cost about $35,000 to $40,000 for a weekend, and I could race a lot of races for that kind of money around here. So I don't. If I ever got a big sponsor that wanted to spend, show up for that weekend and just take care of the whole weekend, we would go. But just the tire bill for that weekend to be competitive is between 15 and 20 grand. We don't have that kind of money.
Yeah. So sponsors. I know Blackburn's Barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about sponsors. I'm sure we always need more sponsors.
Oh yeah, always.
Right. So sponsors.
Yeah, Blackburn's Barbecue, Eagle Lake. Me and my wife were eating barbecue there for, I'm telling you, for a year and a half, and we always kept kicking around. He wanted to sponsor me, and I just kept telling him, you don't know how expensive this stuff is, And then he's like, no, we're going to do something. I was like, no, we're not. And I just, I like to build my sponsorship on friendship.
Yeah.
I don't want a sponsor to come hand me money and just say, dang, that's all he wanted was my money. That's not how I want to do business. I don't like do business like that. I inherited actually his brother that loves racing into the sponsorship. So he's actually one of the crew guys that helps me. But I ended up putting a transmission in his mom's car for him on the side on a Ford Escape, and that's how the sponsorship came. He wrote me a check in the transmission. He's like, I'm giving you this money, and don't look back. I want my name on the car. And I'm like, okay, but that's not what he's like, nope, I'm sponsoring the car. So from that point forward, he's been hands down one of the, he's not only a good friend, he's great to my kids. Him and his wife and my wife, they all get along. And when we all go to the track, they all show up as a big family, and it's a blessing, honestly.
Now, I know with being with, because I also filmed for Bray Holmes, mm-hmm. right? And they have the Bragg Shack.
Yep.
Now, you have the Bragg Shack barbecue,
yep.
and you got Blackburn's barbecue yep. over there, and they're kind of like, we got the best barbecue, we got the best barbecue, and then we got your guys over. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not.
Yeah,
we got your guys over at our pits, and our guys are over there, and I'm like, what is going on over here? But is there anything that you would want to accomplish in racing that you haven't done yet?
Oh yeah.
Big race.
Oh yeah. I definitely like to. I want to be on TV on Saturdays or Sundays racing trucks, Exfinity. I want to win one of them races. Honestly, I raced a lot with Ross Chastain down here in Florida. Mm-hmm. I've ran with him. I've outran him. He's outran me. He's up there winning. There's no reason that we couldn't do it too, at all.
So your big goal here is you stay targeting Cup all the way to Cup.
It'd be nice, but I'd be happy with Exfinity or something like that for a season or two.
All right. Well,
but that don't mean that we would stop racing this stuff, because on the off weekends we'd still be racing. Hey, I don't know if you know, but we went to Martinsville, and the next weekend I was in Arbondale running Crash-A-Rama.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So school bus
so that just kind of puts us where we are. So we got George running, super late models, Xfinity driver, and then he will, throw the helmet on and then go crash stuff with us too.